So today you guys are going to look at composite functions. A composite function is the result of using one function's output as another function's input. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about what that means. But here are a few examples of what a composite function looks like. So this first example right here says f, and it's kind of like a little circle, and g of x. The way that you read that is f of g of x. Another way that you could write that is with g of x on the inside and f on the outside. Now, one thing I want to point out is this symbol right here. Don't get it confused with a multiplication symbol. That would be a closed dot. So anytime you see this open dot right here, it means a composition of the functions. So similarly over here, you have g of f of x also can be written this way. So that's just a little bit of intro on what compositions look like. We're going to talk about next about how to use them. So our first example here says, given f of x equals x minus 2 and g of x equals x squared, plug a value on the inside and then plug it in on the outside. So we're going to try to evaluate with using these two functions. So this first example that we have here says f of g of x. So if you reread this part, it says plug a value into the inside function first. So looking here, this will always be your inside function. This one will be your outside function. Another easier way that you might remember that is using this format. That way you can actually see that g is on the inside. So the way that you evaluate these is from the inside out. So whatever is in parentheses, you always deal with first. So looking here, this inside piece says g of negative 5. So what that means is I'm going to take this negative 5 and plug it into the g function. So to remind ourselves, the g function is x squared. So I'm going to take in this negative 5 and plug it in right here for x. Don't forget to use parentheses when you do that. So g of negative 5 is equal to negative 5 squared. Well, if I just square negative 5, that just gives me positive 25. So we just took care of the inside piece. Next, what you're going to do is take whatever answer you got from the inside and plug it into the outside. Okay? So I got the answer 25 when I did my inside part. Now what I'm going to do is plug that into f. So here's my f function right here. I'm going to be substituting 25 in for x. So I have 25 minus 2, which is 23. So that means that f of g of x is equal to 23. Next, let's look at this example over here. So remember that you would read this g of f of x. Oh, sorry, f of negative 5. So now this looks similar to the first one, but g is our outside function and f is our inside function. So these two switch places. So now instead of putting negative 5 into g like we started with, we would put negative 5 into f because f is now my inside function. So I'm going to take this negative 5 and plug it into f. So our f is right here, x minus 2. I'm going to plug in negative 5 for x. So negative 5 minus 2 gives me my negative 7. So that is when we evaluated the inside, we got negative 7. Now what I would do with that piece is, okay, I got negative 7. Now I need to plug that into g. So remember our g of x is x squared. So I'm going to plug in negative 7 to that. So negative 7 squared is equal to 49. So that means that g of f of negative 5 is equal to 49. So when you guys are doing these problems, make sure that you're paying attention to what the inside function is and the outside function before you begin. Now you guys are going to try these 6 problems down here and see if you guys can practice those skills that we just looked at.